Hi, it's Andrew from The Foolish Couple. We believe that healthy relationships start with health, and we help couples achieve total success in health and in relationships through nutrition, exercise, mindset, and lifestyle. I grew up in a very traditional Chinese family where pretty much every meal was Chinese food. So when I was a kid, like 6 or 7 years old, having a hamburger was a treat. When I was in elementary school, about 2 or 3 times a year, this giant hamburger company called McDonald's would deliver hamburgers and cheeseburgers to our school and sell them to the kids for about 15 to 20 cents a burger. Yeah, I know, you probably think that I'm really old. What can you buy for 15 to 20 cents nowadays, right? My friends and I, we always look forward to Hamburger Day. We savored every bite, especially because we knew that we won't get to eat another burger until next Hamburger Day. I still remember how the hamburger tasted. The patty was moist and juicy, and the bun was slightly toasted, but it was so soft. It was like a slice of heaven. That was over 40 years ago. Can you believe that? Now, fast forward 40 years. To quote every old person in the world has changed. Things are not as good as the good old days. But in this case, it's true. A recent study shows how fast food has changed over the last 30 years and is not for the better. Sure, the price went up. It's now $1 to buy a cheeseburger instead of 20 cents. But a 500% increase over 40 years really isn't that bad. But studies show that fast foods have gotten bigger, saltier, and more fattening than they were 30 years ago. Whereas McDonald's used to be a treat once every few months back in my childhood days, it is now a go-to place for parents to get a fast, convenient meal for their children. But wait, before you start salivating and going out and getting yourself a hamburger, I want you to really sit down and think about it. Think about the cost of living nowadays. You know the old saying, if it's too good to be true, it's probably true? Cheap and larger plates usually mean they're using inferior ingredients and more salt, sugars, MSG, or chemicals to make something taste better. Just how healthy do you think that $1 cheeseburger is? How much real food can that restaurant really give you for $1? Think about the cost of groceries, labor costs, price of rent, insurance, electricity. If you factor all that in, what do you think you're really getting for $1 hamburger or cheeseburger? Sure, these days cows are literally mass produced on factory farms. What kind of antibiotics and medication are they feeding these cows? What type of chemicals are used to make those hamburger buns so soft? What chemicals are in our fast food nowadays that make them so addictive that you have to keep going back and back for more and more? Now, I have to admit, up until 6 years ago, I was guilty of occasionally visiting a fast food joint. The chicken nuggets were my poison. But there is a point in time when things get so bad, it tips you over the edge and you just have to make some drastic changes. For me, that was 6 years ago. My health have gotten so bad that I had to reassess my life and see where I was going to be 10 years from there. I was in so much chronic pain from my chronic degenerative arthritis that I was on pain medication just to get out of bed. To be honest, I couldn't even envision how life would be like 10 years later. Right around my birthday in April, I decided to change my life. What tipped me over was the time when I had to sell my beloved Lotus Elise. Now I love cars, especially fast, nice exotic cars, and that Lotus was my pride and joy. But my body was in so much pain that I could no longer get in and out of the car. That was a sign for me that things had to change. I decided that I didn't want to go down this slippery slope. I didn't want to be in pain and suffering for the next 30 to 40 years. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and change my body and change my life. Since then, I have learned from the best doctors, scientists, nutritionists, and functional medicine practitioners to completely change not only my life, but many other lives also. It was also 6 years ago since Min and I ever ate at fast food restaurants anymore. Over the last 6 years, I've learned how foods can heal or potentially kill your body from the inside out. How foods are manufactured, processed, cooked, or even grown nowadays are slowly aging and deteriorating our bodies without us even being aware of it. Rather than drug addicts, we have now become food addicts. What we thought as being healthy 30, 40 years ago is not as healthy as we think. Eating out nowadays is like a game of roulette, a roll of the dice if you're actually going to eat food with nutrition or food filled with chemicals. The types of oils Russians use are usually highly inflammatory, the products laced with chemicals and pesticides, and meats with growth hormones and antibiotics. The cheaper and larger the portion, the more you should stay away from those restaurants. Now, before you guys start calling me a food conspiracist, I'm not going to go into how big pharma and big farms dominate everything that we eat. Now, that's another topic for another day. I'm just going to lay down the facts. Fruits and vegetables nowadays just don't have the nutrition that they used to have. This is due to over-farming, losing phytovitamins and minerals in the soils that they grow in, excessive chemicals for fertilizers and pest control, pollution in the air and the water, and genetic modifications or GMOs. You literally need to eat 5 to 8 times the same amount of produce to have the same nutrition that you would have had 30, 40 years ago. You know that saying, an apple a day will keep the doctor away? Literally, you need to eat 5 to 8 apples a day nowadays. But eating that many conventional grown, non-organic apples a day may actually hurt you more than help you. Apples are generally on the top of the EWG's Dirty Dozen list because they contain an average of 4.4 pesticide residues, some in high concentrations. Tests done by U.S. Department of Agriculture found that U.S. conventional apples are also sprayed with diphenyllamine, a chemical that is actually banned in Europe. This chemical prevents the apples from bruising during cold storage, so you might want to think twice before you eat that conventional apple in the future. Another hint that all these chemicals may be hurting our bodies is the rise in colorectal cancers. A study published by the Journal of the National Cancer Institute identified that even though colorectal cancer appears to be dropping for the 50-year-olds and above, they are actually increasing for people in their 20s to 30s. People born in the 1990s have twice the risk for developing colon cancer and 4 times the risk for rectal cancer than people born in the 1950s. A thought to ponder about. Maybe the generation born in the 1990s are at higher risk because of foods that they have been eating growing up. Recent studies have found that glyphosate, the world's most widely used herbicide and primary ingredient in the wheat killer Roundup, and other pesticides are showing up in a lot of foods that we eat, including children's cereals, oatmeals, and granola bars, and now they're even found in our wine and beer. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reports that there are traces of 29 different pesticides in the average American's body. Maybe it's because conventional farmers use glyphosate as an herbicide to grow their fruits and vegetables. It leaches into the soils and kills beneficial bacteria in the soils. Eating produce with glyphosate and other chemical pesticides has shown to kill our gut bacteria in our digestive system. And our general being and immune system starts all in our gut. And when our gut is jeopardized, that's when all sorts of problems start arising over the years. Long-term exposure to pesticides can lead to increased risk in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases, prostate, ovarian, and other cancers, depression, low IQ in kids, fertility issues, and even respiratory problems. Now, here are the 3 things that you can start to improve the foods that you eat. 1. Eat whole, unprocessed foods. Stop eating out at fast food restaurants. If you don't recognize what animal or plant that the food you're eating came from, Just don't eat it. 2. Cook more at home with healthy fats full of omega-3 oils, such as olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oils, and avoid the oils that restaurants use that are full of inflammatory omega-6 oils. Check out our previous blog on demystifying fats for more information. And 3. Eat organic and support local organic farmers for all your vegetables and produce that you buy. Choose wisely from the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 when eating fruits and vegetables. And try to eat wild grass-fed meat, as it will not only have no antibiotics, but they will have no growth hormones in them as well. As a bonus, I would supplement with a high-quality multivitamin and other optimizers if you had chronic problems in the past like I did. After all, it's pretty hard to eat 5 to 8 servings of vegetables and fruits a day unless you're a cow. Over the last 6 years, we have changed our lifestyle, starting with the foods we choose to eat, or more importantly, not to eat, and supplementing with high-quality vitamins. This has completely changed not only my health, but my outlook in life also. Now, not only do I look forward to the next 10 years, but the next 20, 30, 40 years, knowing I will live a life of longevity full of energy and well-being, rather than the bleak future I used to envision myself living. Remember, it's not what we eat, but what our bodies can do with what we eat. Till next time, love what you live and live what you love.